Good afternoon, everybody. Good evening and good night. It is the first Nights of Automation for November 2025. Remember, we do these on the second and the fourth Thursday of every single month. However, I believe the fourth Thursday is Thanksgiving, right, Justin? We're probably just going to skip it, realistically, and then we'll just pick it up and continue in December. Doesn't Justin look amazing on his brand new webcam? We got a big fancy webcam for him, and he's loving
Very
it.
happy about that. Yeah. First upgrade in over 5 years.
And it's really cool. So you've been seeing all the videos he's doing, and he's going to continue to do a lot more of those. So today, we're going to go ahead back to something we've talked about before, but nonetheless is still a really important foundation of any business. And this is the ability for people to contact you, for people to reach out to you. Because at the end of the day, people still do business with people. Even if there's AI or something, sequestering or triaging folks, at the end of the day, humans want to go ahead and talk to another human. Let's look at a basic model and then see how it could also work in other circumstances, not just for websites. You know what? I'm going to make a audible here. Let's also talk a little bit about how like chats and built-in help desks could do that. Contacting folks. Probably one of the first baby step automations that came with the internet. Maybe other than like the website visitor hit counter, right? If you remember those from the GeoCities days back in the day. But the idea is very simple. Somewhere on your website, at some point, people can fill out a contact us form. Okay, and if you've seen this before, stick around because we are going to talk about some other things, and I'll be talking more advanced things next week on the advanced talks of automation. So just like we're testing something out, if you didn't catch it last time. So we do these nights of automation, and then we do talks of automation, just like Walking Dead and Talking Dead. So right after this, Justin's going to go on live on his channels and kind of talk about this a little bit more from the beginner end of things. And then on Mondays, I'm going to go ahead and talk about more of the advanced type of things here. So, but that'll be on our own individual pages and channels here. So if you need those links, let us know. We'll go ahead and drop them in there. But contact us. The general idea is this. Somebody fills out a contact form, we follow up with them. And the follow-up can take a couple of different flavors, I guess. It all depends on like how your business works. At a bare minimum, there's kind of two things that should always be happening. There should be some kind of a confirmation. Hey, we got your request. We'll go ahead and reach out to you. We'll follow up with you. In fact, I did that this morning. My wife's and I's anniversary is on Sunday, and I'm getting something produced, and I submitted a job request and their website and immediately got a confirmation back. So this lets me know, or whomever, that it worked. Because, yeah, maybe I can go on a website, I can submit a form, and it'll say, great, we received it. But when you get an email confirming that, that really just drives it home. That says, hey, listen, this for real actually happened. The form isn't broken on the site, nothing like that, which is pretty common, unfortunately. We actually for real got your request. So you should always do a confirmation no matter what, every single time. That way people know. Plus you can use this for additional insight and information into that. So when we start talking about like the chat body things and support things, we're going to do that. Ooh, look at this. We got a guest here, longtime listener, longtime viewer, Heather Wells. Good afternoon. Good to see you.
I'm so happy. Half the time I see, I get the notifications about this, after it's already happened. I was like, dang it.
Well,
so this time I happened to be on and was looking at something and it popped up. I was like, oh, I'm going to go join Paul.
Oh, good. And Justin now too. Yeah, absolutely. I was about to say, if you guys work together, of course you work together. I remember I took some kind of a holiday. And I was hey,
tiny bit, yeah.
You guys know what's going on. So, well, it's a mastermind, as you know, Heather. So we were just going to kind of talk about contact forms and, there's the basic contact us and all the different flavors it can look and, important things to it. But it is a mastermind. So is there anything you've been noodling on or something you want to throw some extra brain power at? Otherwise, we can all talk about contact forms because Lord knows you've set a bunch of them up.
Currently I am working on building out my membership site and getting all the content in there. And today what I was working on before I hopped in was my sales page.
Okay.
And that's always kind of a pain for me because as much as I love doing all the back end technical stuff, I really hate the sales aspect of owning a business. Like it's not my strong suit. The only job that I ever really had that was technically sales was when I was like 15, 16, my first job.
Hmm.
And I worked for a pet store. I sold puppies. That's not hard. They do the work. I don't,
They do.
it's like here. That's all I have to do. So I struggle when it comes to doing sales and sales calls and building sales pages and stuff like that.
Okay.
And things like Chat GPT and all of that, they've helped because
Good.
it helps me kind of like with that blank page syndrome where it's like, I don't know what to say. I don't know how to say that well. And then I put it in the Chat GPT and it gives me like a starting point. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, but I can say it like this. And it helps me. So that's really what I'm working on is just building out that.
Ooh, fun.
I'm happy to talk about, and then also like the funnel. I guess if we were talking about the mastermind part of it, if you wanted to dive into something that wasn't just, I mean, it does include forms.
Sure.
I'm working on building out the automation for basically the launch
Okay.
of the membership. So the goal is to have it ready to launch on the 1st of
Okay.
the year of January.
Okay.
When people can start out 2026.
Congratulations, by the way. I'm going to react on that. It's a big deal. I know you've been working on this for quite some time.
I'm trying.
So it's exciting.
I got a lot of work to do before I can actually launch it, but I've got all of the content mapped out. I've got it all planned out. I've just got to put it in and then record videos.
Okay.
So it's there. I've got the outline for everything, so I can kind of show you what I've built. But I'm working on building out that sort of launch, like waiting list promo, because obviously the goal is to try and get some like Black Friday or holiday offers and, take advantage of that, even though it doesn't launch until the 1st. Sort of, if you want to do early bird pricing, you can do it.
Okay.
Sign up and you'll get, blah, blah, blah. So that's the funnel that I was working on building out. So if you want, we can dive into that.
We can wrap on that. Yeah. In fact, let's briefly talk about the sales page part of it because that's very hard for a lot of folks, And even though I do verbal sales a lot, even sales pages are very hard. It's all about making a sales argument and knowing who you're talking to and like what their pain points and stuff are. Whenever that's ready, feel free to send it over. I'd love to take a peek at it and maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I can happily show you what I've got so far. It's just not done.
No, let's not spoil the fun.
Yeah.
But as far as the launch model, that seems like a really cool thing to do. Is there any place where like you're stuck or you're not sure a good way to structure things? If the answer is no, I wouldn't be surprised again. This is like your 400th rodeo. Okay.
I do know how to structure it.
Okay, good.
But I'm happy to go over what I've built, and then I would love if you're like, oh, maybe you could try this or that.
Sure.
Because the goal of what I'm doing is obviously what I'm building is to have it set up where it will do sort of that pre-launch promo, but that whatever I have set up, once that time frame is over, I can just take that piece out and just continue to use what I've already built so I don't have to build something else.
Okay. Show us what you got. Oh, and we're using the new automation UI, by the way.
I am, just because it's, I've been wanting to kind of play around with it, and it does have a few features that the older one doesn't have in some places. So.
Oh, really?
Well, because I have an older app, like you and I, we've been around forever.
Yeah.
So like I don't have the, my apps, they do have the new UI. What I have at least didn't have, they may have updated it, but it didn't have like the, the new HTTP request feed as opposed to the old, right? And it didn't have
create a deal, I think is new, because that's different than creating an opportunity.
Deal. Yeah. So there's just some like newer.
Oh, and appointment timers.
Yeah,
although that might have been in the old one too, but okay, that's really cool.
So that's kind of why I just was like, let me use this one, and then that way I have those things already pre-done, and I don't have to retroactively go back and make any edits. The goal is to try and set this up and then not have to make
let it roll. Okay, can I take a guess? And by the way, it's a beautiful model. It's nice and clean, nice and laid out. Let me see if I can take a guess at the general experience here. So obviously, product is purchased. That's what we're going for at the end of the day. And so there's a wait list, which whenever that's live, please let me know. I'd love to check it out. So people join a wait list. And so I'm sure you'll be emailing your list and telling people about it on social, and we'd be more than happy to, well, put it
I'm
in
also
the
building
group
that
too.
into I'm building that into the sales page. So the way that I'm building the sales page is currently gonna be where inside of my website builder, and I use Elementor, but I have the ability to set it up where things can be visible based off of various different circumstances. So like
Yeah.
between this date and this date, show this button, and then between this date and this date, show that button.
Very
So
cool.
the goal is to basically set it up where it's still the same page, even for the wait list, and it's the copy and everything is going to be in a way to be like I basically just sort of have it all set up so that up until the actual launch where the cart opens up and it's ready to go and people can sign up, they can join the wait list.
That's very smart.
Yeah.
I want to highlight that because you're basically writing the sales page once, and the call to action changes just a little bit. Instead of the call to action being like join the wait list, the call to action after the first or whenever it goes is cool. Now go buy the thing, and that's good because now you'll be able to get data on how effective is the sales page in the first place. Because if it does the job and gets people to opt in, then it should also do the job of selling it when it's time to do that. So okay, so people opt in. You got your early bird promotion, and then if they don't do that, then they'll get an evergreen and then some long-term stuff. Of course, at the end of the yellow brick road, we want them to buy something. And then you've got a roadmap quiz, a She.E.O. I love the name of that. So that seems like that's
the
a new
product
lead
is
magnet.
the She.E.O Academy.
Okay.
That's what the membership is.
Cool. Okay. So that's kind of like the lead magnet for it. And so you're delivering a dynamic quiz. So it's truly a quiz then, where people are going to answer questions and then you'll kind of put them into buckets based on.
Yeah. So basically that's up and live right now. I haven't fully launched the site,
Ooh,
but
okay.
what it is it's built with Memberium has their new member AI. They have lead magnets or the generation where it's like, oh, you can do a quiz or you can do a form, and then have the AI that you've programmed basically give various responses. So if you wanted to see that, I could show you it. So this is the quiz. And so basically it asks a bunch of qualifier questions that sort of gives me an idea of like my customer avatar and like what stage they're in. So the membership is geared toward various different, so it's obviously all geared towards women. Obviously I have a soft spot for moms and single moms that want to start a business, but I didn't want to exclude people who didn't have kids.
Sure.
So it's really about any women who are potentially looking to start their own business, or they already have their own business and they're trying to build it or don't know where to go, or they do have an established business but they're struggling to scale or grow. So all of these questions are sort of qualifier questions to find out what some of your different psychographics and all of the fun little things. So there's only 6 questions, but it basically boils down to are you someone who is a mom who's looking to start her own business, or are you a mom who has already started a business and trying to grow, or you know what I'm saying? So there's a few different things, but basically in the end, I've programmed AI to say, based off of whatever their answers are, it then gives them a report of like, okay, you fall under this category, like you're a mompreneur who is a dreamer, right? Who hasn't started anything yet, but would really like to and doesn't know what to do. And so then it gives them some feedback, some actionable steps. And then if you want to join the membership, here's, link to the sales page. So each one gets sort of their own feedback.
And is that going to go back into Keap in any particular way, or even something simple like just tagging the kind of person they are?
The contact gets added into Keap and then also tagged. I'm working on getting them tagged based off of how, like, what bucket they get put into. Right now it's just set up where it just says they finished the quiz, right? But I'm working on the back end to see about
because
customizing that.
because if you go back to your Keap
Yeah,
model,
ideally the goal
it's
is that
dynamic.
then this is, yeah, that's why it says dynamic, right?
Ah, okay.
This one would be still one sequence of events, but using, the liquid dynamic content to say,
Mm-hmm.
if they're this category, put this information in, and just adjust the text a little bit based off of, I'm going to market to moms about how to do their business differently than I am, people who don't have kids,
Yes,
because your circumstances are different. So
absolutely.
that's what that is.
That's
Yeah.
really cool. Look at that. Yeah. So dynamic content, this is a perfect use case of a really good way to use dynamic content to personalize without being like super big brothery or creepy about it. And also
Right.
what they receive should be it should be a more meaningful, conversation. Like she really gets me. Because there's a
Yeah.
big difference between taking a quiz and hey, here you are, and then it's just the same follow up, which,
That I would give anybody. Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
people
Yeah.
just feel like not personalized. I remember back in the day, we did a quiz for a client, and we pulled. Well, actually, it was more of an avatar survey. It was like build your profile, right? Tell us what's
Mhm.
important. And we asked. There was three specific questions in there that we used for dynamic. There was like their age, their relationship status, and their employment status.
Mhm.
And in the follow up emails, each email used one of those pieces of information to make like the sales argument. So the first
Mhm.
email was like, hey, based on your age, have we talked to you in this way? Of course the offer is still the same. And then the next one's talking about relationships and all that.
Mhm.
So that's really cool and that's really fun.
So is the whole process that you have here, is it more, you said it is more targeted towards moms? Well, it can be, but also like independent women who want to
Yeah,
start up their
women,
own
yeah, entrepreneurs,
business.
yeah, because they could be married and not have
Figure it
kids.
out.
They could be
Yeah.
single, working a 9 to 5 job, but they really would prefer to start their own business. They just don't have time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So it's sort of like that dynamic of,
Mm-hmm.
and again, the goal is to provide content. So the membership is set up. Obviously, there's going to be a multitude of different courses and classes and resources and things like that. But the initial like core of the um, membership is what I call it's a business builder blueprint, and basically, um, it is a way to say we'll meet you where you're at, right?
Nice.
So we recognize that you might be just starting out, right? So you need all the
Yeah.
beginning stuff, right? Or you might have already started, but you don't know what to do next,
Mm-hmm.
right? So let me see here. So like
While you're finding
this
that,
is like the
yeah, go
main
ahead.
dash, but so like you've got sort of like these 4 levels, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just igniting your vision is like you're just starting out. This is okay, we already know what we want to do, but now we need to get into like the nitty-gritty of like, how do I build this? And
Oh,
then,
that's cool. So you've kind of
yeah,
clustered that because I see that little purple. They say click where you want to go to dive into that, and
yeah,
you've got all these resources and you've kind of clustered them based on like where they're at, and then of
correct. And
course
they can
you can give
obviously
them.
access anything at any
Uh-huh.
time, but it's like if you're here, you don't have to go through all the beginning stuff. You've already done all that,
Ah,
right? So, like
so
start.
is your fulfillment gonna address that as part
Mhm.
of the delivery? Okay, cool. So when somebody buys, it's gonna go ahead and cool. That's really
Man,
cool.
I have so many questions. Because the first thing that pops into my head about this is it kind of got me thinking because I know there's been time and time where when my wife actually had time in her calendar and her schedule in general, there was definitely a lot of thoughts of be like, like what if I did like my own little startup? What if I got my own little like not an LLC, but let's just say more of a PLLC, for example. The process you have for the workflow, how does it cater specifically like to parents like that subjected towards individuals? Is it like their own? Does that also go in relations to like your questionnaire, like quiz kind of thing?
Well, to an extent, I mean, basically all the content that's in here applies to anybody at any point of their business journey, right?
Oh,
So
it
it
just so happens that it's just all inclusive. It'd be like, hey, you're
correct,
not forgotten, but the content is still
right.
the same
But the
regardless of where
intent
you're
is
at.
to, yeah. So the goal is basically to say, hey, look, most people aren't able to just quit their job, start a business, and be successful. It takes time. It takes, right? So it's a
It's
lot of
hard.
time. It's with a side hustle that turns into a main hustle.
I fall
Or
into that category at a point in time,
right.
so
Or
I
it
get
could
that.
just be somebody who only wants to develop a side hustle and they don't want to do anything more. They just want to know how to bring in an extra couple $100 into their family income
Oh,
because it would be helpful,
interesting.
right?
I never really thought about
So
that.
the goal is to say like, build. And so basically the mantra that this is built around is you're building a business that works around your life as opposed to having to have your life work around your business. But acknowledging that a majority of, I mean, people in general, but again, helping women, especially moms, is my passion. But with the idea of the majority of us, especially moms, and I'm a single mom, so even more so, is we only have certain pockets of time where doing anything like this is possible. The intent is to create this content and build it out in a way where it's like, hey, this is built out where it's like everything is very quick, not very long, right? It's a short module with actionable things that you can do. It comes with like a quick worksheet or a quick this or quick that, right? Here's your next step. None of it is set up in a way where it's like, oh, you have to finish this before you can dive into this type of mentality. Also, it comes like there'll be like Q&As and various different sessions and stuff like that, but there will be some that will be like at night, right? So on, or later in the day. So it's like, hey, we recognize that there are a lot of you who would love to come to our Q&A or this or that, but so that you can ask your questions live or get the support you need live. So we're going to have some that are on the weekends. We're going to have some that are at night so that you have access to that live, as well as you can always access the recordings,
Okay.
right? It's meant to sort of build that community where they feel a lot more, oh, I can absolutely do this because it's quick. It doesn't take a ton of time. I don't have to sit there for an hour. I can do a couple of lessons or courses or modules while the kids are taking a nap and then come back to it later. And I don't feel like I have to start over or whatever. So that's kind of the intent. And so it's all really sort of broken down into all of these various, just like, here's some beginner stuff that you need to know. Here's some, middle of the road stuff you need to know. If you're already an established business owner, but you can't scale, here's all the stuff for automation and marketing and funnels and Keap and blah, 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 right? So like all of those things to kind of help them. And if they get to the point where they're like, all right, great, I established and built my little, e-commerce Shopify store and I'm bringing in an extra $500 a month and I'm solid, great. They don't have to keep going.
So you developed a momtorship.
Basically.
Okay. A momtorship. I love it.
Yeah.
Business startup to if you're already got the ball like rolling and you're gaining momentum, but you need to see maybe where your plan is for the future, then you can just continue from there. Just depends where you're at, and then regardless of where you're at, this can just help in general. Like this is just like, here's your stuff, where do you need to be, where do you want to see yourself, what's your 5-10 year plan, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay.
Right. And if it's as simple as I don't really have a 5 and 10 year plan, I just want to make enough money to help pay for my childcare, cool.
That's
Right.
cool too.
Yeah, like, or yeah, I want to be able to,
Yeah, childcare is not cheap.
No, that's the reason I started.
That's why I don't do it either. Like, but still, like it's hundreds and hundreds of dollars minimum.
Thousands. So that's the reason so like how I said, most people don't get the ability to go, oh, I'm just going to quit my job and start my own business. I didn't quit my job. I got fired from my job. And I was like, oh, I'm going to go back to work because I was working, bartending, waitressing gigs and stuff and just trying to have friends and family watch my kids. And I was like, oh, I'm going to go back into executive assistant because that's what I was. And I went to look at how much it would cost to put my kids back in daycare. And I'm like, it can't be that bad now because my boys are school age, right? So maybe I can afford it. My daughter was still an infant. She was only 1. But I was like, with my boys being in school, it won't be that bad. It was still almost double my rent to put my kids in childcare.
Do you have that story like somewhere in your sales page or anything like that? Because that's going to get people resonating with you for sure. A random thought I had: are you going to have because you said you're going to do these Q&As? Are you going to have a calendar somewhere that lists out when the calls are happening so that people can like know
Yeah.
when stuff's going to happen. Okay.
Yep, absolutely,
Cool.
absolutely. So yeah, so basically it's all gonna be set up in my Zoom. It'll be recurring meetings, so there'll be certain ones and they'll always be set up and always ready. And then I'll have additional extra bonus ones. Because the thing is the whole point of this is that there is, and obviously I'm probably gonna tap onto you, Paul, to be like, hey, I have experts in various different things that I want to bring on because I don't know all the things, nor do I want to know all the things. Paul can absolutely attest to me going, I don't understand social ads at all. But I know that they're important, right? I don't know how to build an audience. Part of me does not want to learn. I could, but I don't want to.
Yeah.
So
That's more than fair.
all the things. So the goal is to have also a slew of various different experts in their field that can bring content in, and then also that would be a lead generation source for them. So It's like, hey, here's Paul, he knows X, Y, and Z. This is going to be a course or a mastermind or whatever that shows up in your membership portal. You can access it whenever. And if you want to know more about Paul, if you want to hire him to help you, you want to get blah blah blah, here's how you find him.
All right. Well,
right? Here's your
throw it in my hat. Yeah, you let us know when it's ready.
Yeah, and if you're a member, you get, they've agreed to give you some bonus or a percentage off or who knows, whatever.
Yeah,
right?
we'll figure it out.
Yeah,
even if it's something simple like, on this QA call, we're going to go ahead and talk about the basics of like how to set up your Google Analytics and like maybe get your Facebook pixel on your site. We can do all that kind of stuff.
Most people, you can look it up, and it's great to like, you can, and AI, ChatGPT, all of that can tell you stuff, but it's almost always better to watch someone go through it.
Absolutely.
Right? For me, it just connects better. And especially if I could go back and watch the recording and be like, okay, Paul said to do this. Okay, I'm going to pause and I'm going to find that. And I'm going to, okay, that's the whole goal, is to be able to have that as a resource. And then also know that we have this community of people that we know that have all of these amazing skills that we can tap on shoulders and be like, hey, I have a question. I need some help with this, or I need to hire you for this. But there's so many people out there that have no clue where to look for any of that help. The goal is to sort of bring that out to other people as well.
I love it. Cool. So we talked about the launch wait list, which again, that's a real genius idea of having one sales page where the call to action is the wait list. And then when the cart's open, you just change the call to action to buy it. Like, that's genius. The roadmap quiz, that's awesome. You're segmenting, you're going to be dynamically following up with folks. And then also in the fulfillment of the product too. So after it's purchased, based on the kind of person they are, you're going to kind of guide them of like, hey, here's what you can do. I see that there is a blog website lead magnet. So is this different than the roadmap quiz? Does it need to be?
Potentially, it kind of depends, right? So this is something where, so as I was building this out, I was just thinking of the various different entry points that I can have for the same automation, right? So this could be a blog, website lead magnet. It could be a singular one. There could be multiple other ones, right? And so basically it's just, it could be the quiz. In all honesty, if I'm going to, put in, social media or something out, ultimately, if they get to my homepage, they'll see the quiz, right? So they can take it there. I want to be able to put stuff. I don't always want that to be the only thing that's offered in various pieces of content, right? I don't want it to only be take the quiz, because if they've already taken the quiz, but they never bought, I want something else, right? So this is going to be like a workshop, a workbook, right? Or, so I will more than likely have a multitude of those. There'll be more than just one, but for the initial sort of push, it's,
So this is the vision, which is good. That's okay. You can leave stuff, waiting until it's ready to go. And then I also see the social media ads too, which, that could be, you could just be running ads for the roadmap too, or you could be running lead ads, which then would require some kind of a tag, either through like Make or Zapier or something like that.
And I'm also thinking about stuff like, not necessarily social media ads. I labeled it that, but I was thinking more along the lines of sort of like the instant messenger, where you can, the mini chat.
Yeah, that ties
in. It and then tag
comment guarding, I think is what they say. Of like, hey, if you like this, comment quiz, and I'll send that to you. Yeah. which
Right. And then, yep.
that ties into what we were talking about at the very beginning a little bit, which we're not going to get to the contact stuff because this is way cooler anyway. But that's also something, y'all. When you have like, chat bots and things like that, that contact us, when someone reaches out through a bot or something, through ManyChat or whatever, that should totally push people into your CRM or your
Mhm.
help ticket desk system and let people know that at least it's there. So, but that's all we'll talk about
Yep.
contact forms here. Another thing too you could do, Heather, is for people that are on the list that haven't necessarily joined, every once in a while you could open up a Q&A session to the public or have like a
Yeah.
unique one. And maybe that's a different lead magnet, or maybe that's something that you do intentionally. So maybe like once a
Yeah.
month, you just are always going to have
Once a month,
some
I
kind
do
of
an
free,
open,
Mhm.
an open Q&A,
and
ask me
then you
anything type of
pitch them at the
event.
end. And of
Yep.
course, the whole time you're talking about, yeah, well, that's a great question, blah, blah, blah. Hey, talk about this in this course. You'll love it.
Mhm.
This is pretty solid. I mean, covered most things. Now, I know that you're newer to the game here, Justin. So, like, what have you been observing? We've done launches and stuff before, but I don't know if we've done like a necessarily a from scratch kind
Um,
of launch. And if not, that's okay too. I just love putting you on the spot.
I understand, like visually looking at this model, I can safely say this makes sense to me. And maybe because the UI is better in this and my brain can actually put two and two together. But I think from starting from point A, where you already have the whole specific target audience, they're like, you know what, this sounds like a great idea. They go into the whole opt-in thing, they follow that path of completing the roadmap quiz and going down further from there. They eventually see like more promotions and they just keep on pushing, going to the website, and let's say they buy something. Obviously,
Mhm.
customer checkout, like success kind of story. So getting from point A, I guess in this case, like to point B and then eventually C. Feels like technically there's only three real points that you have to get to. Getting from that opt-in and then getting
Mhm.
pushed into be like, hey, buy this thing. And once you buy that thing, then is your exit course.
Then it's
But
into the onboarding and member retention and
Mm-hmm.
all of that.
yeah. So all that does seem very straightforward to me, obviously, because then within all of these, you do have your different little pieces of like, okay, well, what happens when they're in the opt-in? What emails, for example, would need to be sent out, if any? And then be like, okay, they completed a quiz. We need to follow up with whatever their responses and answers are of the quiz. And then that will uniquely be sent out to the individual based upon whatever criteria they filled out, and then so on and so forth. It all ends up being the exact same thing. And in the long run, is that they book you'd be like, I need this, I want this, and it's purchased. Obviously, I can't even begin to imagine how much more complex this could be. That scares me, honestly, on how
And
much
that's
more complex
honestly
that could be.
that's the goal with some of the dynamic stuff, right? Being able to use liquid content and dynamic content makes it a little easier.
Mm-hmm.
Without that, it would be absolutely much more complex and a
Mm-hmm.
bigger map for sure. That was the whole point, is that I didn't want it to be too complex in its base nature because like I said, I want to be able to be like, okay, once the launch is off, I can just disconnect this and be done with it, right? I
Mm-hmm.
don't need it anymore. And then this stuff is all going to still remain the same. None of this is launch specific, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the ads are, but not, not the content, not the delivery, not any of that. And then this is all just Academy, evergreen stuff, right? So it's like, great, you downloaded or you came in from whatever. Here's some really great information. Here's how the course benefits you. That can also have dynamic content in it here and there, but I didn't want it to be too complex because ultimately, yes, some of the pain points are going to be different, but the end goal is always going to be the same for these people, whether it's I'm looking to start a business or grow a business or, whatever. The content is basically
Mm-hmm.
going to be built in a way that sort of addresses those various different things.
And I'm glad you mentioned the whole complexity thing, Justin, because I think what a lot of folks don't realize is that most launches, the like big successful ones, are actually really simple.
Stupid simple.
They're real.
Stupid
It's
simple.
like don't never meet your heroes kind of thing, right? Like I remember, a decade plus ago, and when I was working at Infusionsoft and I was building, I was basically when the campaign builder was new, we were taking partners like Frank Kern and digital marketer and Ryan Dice and Dan Kennedy, and I was building their classic campaigns in the builder, and I was just floored at how simple some of these things were behind the scenes. Which I guess that's kind of the mark of a professional, of someone who really gets what they're doing. It's like a good, a good magician. Usually, the trick mechanism itself is very simple. All the misdirection and pageantry around it, or like professional skateboarder, they just make it look they make it look real fancy and crazy, but they've just got their technique is just real clean, real good to go. And so like this right here is more than adequate for a very successful launch. And then it's just about, bringing the top of funnel awareness, getting people into the quiz, finding communities and places to promote it. So definitely, whenever you're ready to start, pushing people, please absolutely post this in our mastermind group here, and also the unofficial Keap partner group, which you're a part of, and it's unofficial, so we can do whatever we want in that.
Just real quick, it's just something I've also realized is that once it comes to creating things like this in for automation in general, as far as this model goes, we have a client that I remember working on an automation model for and helping out with. I realized the structure is almost identical to this one, which is interesting that I'm seeing these models all really formulate and are all structured and laid out almost in the exact same way, because you have your main one that just goes from point A, point B to point C, but then underneath that, you have two other things that are separate from it, but are still in connection with it because it still drives to the same exit point at the same time.
Yeah.
So, and I realized that from all of some other clients as well. And I recognize this pattern now, and it's taken me quite a while to see this pattern. I'm like, this makes sense. It's all realistically
it's all basically the same. It is.
It's just
insane that I can see that now.
Yeah,
that's a big deal, dude. Good job.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's like being a doctor. All human bodies are the same, pretty much. So,
to that point, and also I'm going to give Greg Jenkins a shout out too, because I was on the event that he had and MonkeyPod had the other day. He was kind of talking about in the, the customer journey of, you have your various different milestones, and then you have the bridges between those milestones, right? So it all sort of is the same regardless. It's of how you sort of picture it in your head. It could be, various milestones, and there's bridges between that get you from A to B to C. It really kind of depends. And for me, the thought process is, you kind of look at it as if you're going to take a cross-country trip or something like that. You can take a lot of different ways to get there, but ultimately the goal is still you're going to, you could have different travel routes, but you're still looking at getting to, Chicago. And you could be driving a different car, but you're still looking to get to Chicago. Everybody has their own way of doing it, their own methods, their own verbiage, but it all boils down to that same principle.
Blow our minds, because I remember, I think Ben showed me this at the partner thing. I never got a chance to use it.
Yeah,
it sounds really cool.
I haven't set up the onboarding and all of the stuff, but I can kind of go over all the very
show me what you've done with it.
So this is the AI member sign up, right? So I've got the roadmap quiz that I set up, and then I've got a couple of other different ones, right?
Okay.
Right. And so I've got this set up. So just to kind of show you the back end and lift up the skirt of how this works, for lack of a better term. So this is basically set up where I'm here's all my AI instructions. Here's the questions. So you build it with the questions, and they could either be multiple choice questions or open-ended questions. And then based off of that, I'm okay, here's what the questions are, and based on this, here's the potential personas that they could be assigned, right?
Yes.
Based off of their answers, right? So they could either be a married mompreneur, a single mom hustler, or an ambitious professional. They could be at the dreamer stage, the planner stage, the launcher stage, or the grower stage.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Okay.
Based on that, here's how I want you to categorize and set up and answer based off of the questions and how they answer those questions.
Oh, yeah. And there you go. Based on where they're at, here's the guide for what's good, because I see different PDFs there. Okay, that's fancy.
Yes. So the AI gives them their answer of based on what you said, you're this, and that's awesome. And because it also then takes some of these open-ended questions, right? So this is the one that gives me an idea of where they are, right? Who they are, in life. This is open-end. Why are you doing it?
Oh, yeah.
So it takes that information and it's like, okay, you told me that the biggest reason that you wanted to grow your business is because you're a single mom and you can't afford your childcare and blah, 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 blah. So it takes that information and it incorporates it into the answer that it gives in the quiz result. What's your biggest challenge, right? And then what does it look like for you? What are you trying to get to, right? So this is the question of like, I really am looking at replacing my 9-to-5 job, or I just want to be able to bring in an extra $500 a month, right? And so all of these questions, and then this one here is like, helps me establish where are they, right? Are they the dreamer? Are they the doer? Are they growing? What? And then what is the one thing that you wish would help you now, right? Like what kind of help do you need right now?
And
then
I love your languaging, by the way. Just sorry to cut you off. Like, look at that last question. I've always believed that any endpoint with messaging, you should always try to inject your flavor into it. That's Heather Wells right there. Spill it.
Yeah. And so then in the answers, when you're giving your response, like reference their motivation, their challenge, their vision of success, right? And their biggest need in their response, and keep it warm, empowering, jargon free, just like a supportive friend, right? So the answer that they get that the AI is typing out for them is, girl, we hear you, right? Like, so it speaks in a voice that sounds like if I was going to talk to them, you're working your butt off, trying to hustle for your family. And that's awesome. Also leaving like, hey, I also want you to suggest a couple of different steps based on who they are and where they are of what they can do next. Here's what we recommend for your next steps, even without being a member. Obviously, we want you to be a member. And then based on where they are, I also have, and their stage, free PDFs that they can download, right? So it's like, if you're doing this, I recommend filling this out, right? So here's one that's like, here's your business builder planner. And then it just walks them through, like, define your idea, give your, like, all this stuff that you can do without even having to become a member. It's like, here's something you can do.
That's huge. That's front loading the value big.
Right. And then if they want to join, then they go to the
join. That's your, I mean, that's a perfect example of like, you know, the results in advance and the goodwill angle. Like if if somebody's your target audience and they go through this and they get this, there's going to be extreme value in this.
And then I can set up the, like I said, the call to action where it's like, if you want to get started today, you can get started today, and then it takes them to the page. And then here's where I can apply a tag when they submit the lead map. Right. Just that they filled it out. It doesn't specify who they are yet. Sure. Right. You can also set up onboarding, and an onboarding that is specific. I can set this up to say for people who are at this stage.
Because everything's a short code, because it's still WordPress at the end of the day. So you can have that short code, and then because we're using Memberium, it can be dynamic, where based on where they're at, they see a different onboarding. That's the cool.
Yeah, that's the super cool thing so like
that's the big technical stuff. Okay.
Also, like, here's the steps, right? Watch this video, download this resource, right? And so I kind of got to figure out how because I don't want it to be too like, you have to do it this way. That's not the intent. But it can be like, here's the overall onboarding for the membership is we want to make sure you know where all the things are. We want to make sure you know where to go. We want you to make sure that you have joined the private Facebook group so that you can talk to all the other members, right? And get help and ideas. We want you to register for the Q&A calls. We want you to do blah, blah, blah. So all of those things that I want to have happen. But then the other coolest part is the content coach. So I can actually program these coaches, and I can make as many of them as I want. And they can be very specific coaches that reference very specific content based off of whatever direction I give.
Okay. So you have content like dreamer vision kind of content. You could have like a dream coach that they can kind of talk back and forth with, and that coach is using the knowledge base of all your.
So basically, here I can. This is and I can tell this what content I want it to reference on my website, as well as anything I want to upload. I can say, all right, I'm going to create a, dreamer coach. And this dreamer coach uses all of the content from the Ignite Your Vision courses when it's talking to the member. So if the member's like, hey, I'm trying to figure out the best way or here's my elevator pitch. What do you think? How can I tweak it? right? Does it sound good? And so I just basically have to program it and tell it what content to reference. And then I can basically have those be there for those people who are in those
That's
areas.
so wild. It's basically
Yeah.
like it's a custom GPT that's built into your membership site.
Correct.
Oh, and you're also using LearnDash too. That's the trifecta, y'all. If you're using Keap and you need, a really good membership site, WordPress with Memberium to connect that in to Keap, and then LearnDash for the learning management part of it, which of course also works with Memberium too. So I mean, that's the only way to get more pro than that is to have something like enterprise level, which is going to be huge and expensive and big, fancy,
very expensive. Yes.
A lot of overhead. Wow.
Yes. Yeah. And this can be, again, as simple or as complex as you want. Mine's very complex, but I also have a very basic, like, learn how to build your own WordPress site 101. It's like basic WordPress 101. It's like a super non-fluffy, just here's the basics of setting up your own WordPress site. Here's how it works. Here's what the back end looks like. Here's how you put in plugins. Here's how you install a theme. Here's how you customize it. Super, super basic. And it's still set up with Memberium and LearnDash. But it's one course, 6 months. That's it.
It is
very basic.
This has given me a lot of ideas.
Oh, I know. I'm sure, Justin, that the hamster wheels are cranking real hard, and
the wheels turning and the hamster's just spinning with it.
Yeah, that's my mission right now. So now I'm just working on building this content and getting it in there, ready to go.
We should probably wrap up because Zoom is yelling at us again, and I don't think we need to go through this a third time.
That's fine.
But
I'm sorry I took over, but
no, that's the whole point of these things. I wish more people would show up and be like, "Here's what we're working on. Let's wrap on it." Hopefully, you got some ideas out of it. I know I got some ideas out of this. I know Justin, this guy, I can't wait to talk to him after this. Thanks for watching. Look for Heather's She.E.O being promoted in the group, and I'm excited to see that launch. So great job.
Thank you.
Have a great day, everybody. See ya.
Bye.
Thank you, everybody, for hanging out. This has been fun, and we'll talk about contact forms and advanced, multiple step things next time. Have a great day, and if you're going to do anything, you might as well be pro.